This is Matador News. And these are today's headlines. CSUN holds Associated Senate elections. Arkansas's governor postpones signing religious freedom bill. And Van Nuys woman in custody after a 9-hour standoff.
Hello and welcome to Matador News. I am Akopyan.
And I'm Jennifer Guzman. Let's head to the newsroom with Cassie Yanagacio with the latest on AS elections.
Thanks, Jennifer. If you haven't already noticed, today is the AS and USU elections at CSUN. Students will be able to vote for a new associated student body. The ballot also has different measures, including a proposed food bank. Presidential candidate George Reyes says he has some ideas to ease parking problems.
Lower the congestion of parking by implementing a smart parking app that will tell you what parking spots are available in each structure, so you don't have to wait in line to just find out there's no parking.
The voting tables are located outside the bookstore and the Oviatt Library. Students can also choose to vote online on their phones through a link provided by the Associated Students. Election volunteer Monique Elliott says AS is giving incentives to encourage students to vote.
If you come from 11 to 1, you get free In-N-Out, which is like a $5 value that you're getting for free just for voting. And you also get free popsicles from about 2 to 4. And it's like the little paletero man. He comes and he gives out the ice creams, and it's just a really great experience. So we really encourage you guys to vote.
Election polls are open today and tomorrow until 5, but students can vote online anytime until 6 tomorrow evening. The Associated Students say if students vote, they will have the chance to implement much-needed changes for the university. Now, Matt, back to you in the studio, Anna.
The governor of Arkansas is refusing to sign his state's religious tolerance bill until a change is made. Gay rights groups are already protesting, and Governor Asa Hutchinson says he does not want the state to be known to discriminate. And he doesn't want to receive pressure from business as Indiana's governor did last week. Indiana's Governor Mike Pence signed his state's freedom law, but now he says he'd like to amend the law. After Indiana received pressure from businesses and sports organizations, the world's biggest retailer, Walmart, based in Arkansas, is applying pressure on Hutchinson to reject the bill.
In Nigeria, for the first time, the opposition has defeated the ruling party in a democratic election. Muhammadu Buhari is the country's new elected president. Buhari beat incumbent Goodluck Jonathan by about 2 million votes, but this isn't his first time in power. Buhari led Nigeria some 30 years ago in 1983. Nigeria, the most populous country in Africa, is also its biggest economy. It is one of the largest oil producers and a major supplier of crude oil to the U.S. The country is still dealing with Boko Haram extremists who continue to terrorize the land. Buhari says a new Nigeria is here and it is time to heal the wounds.
Iraqi forces have taken control of Tikrit from ISIS soldiers. They report disarming charged vehicles packed with explosives, which were wired to burst when disturbed. During ISIS's 9-month domination over Tikrit, they destroyed an Assyrian church and allegedly buried hundreds of victims in mass graves. Iraqi forces are continuing to fight pockets of ISIS soldiers. Iraqi's interior minister says the government will be in full control of the city soon.
The deadline for the U.S. and Iran to reach an agreement over limiting Iran's nuclear program has passed, and a deadline has not been reached. But negotiators are still talking, and all details need to be figured out by the new deadline on June 30th. Any new deal would allow the U.S. and world powers to inspect Iran's nuclear program. White House spokesperson Josh Earnest says all parties need to come to a final agreement.
And it's appropriate at some point for everybody to say, look, we're either going to reach an agreement or we're going to have to try something else. Because we don't want to be in a position where we're just sort of mindlessly talking without actually advancing toward an agreement.
Secretary of State John Kerry and Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif held talks Wednesday afternoon in Switzerland.
New Jersey Democratic Senator Robert Menendez is facing corruption charges after allegedly misusing his office for personal gain. The Justice Department accuses Menendez of pushing the business interest of a friend in exchange for gifts. Federal officials and Menendez's attorneys have discussed plans for the senator to turn himself in before a court hearing takes place tomorrow. The case is expected to test the limits of the Justice Department's ability to investigate members of Congress.
And now to the newsroom with Matador News reporter Victor Park, who has the latest on this morning's Van Nuys standoff.
Thank you, Jennifer. Right now, the former LAPD civilian employee is in custody, but only after a 9-hour standoff that led to police shooting dozens of tear gas rounds into the home. Now, those were some of the rounds of tear gas fired by police a couple of hours ago. Now, this all started around midnight when police received a call of a domestic dispute reportedly between the woman and a current LAPD detective. He was able to get out of the house with only minor injuries. Authorities are saying they recovered an AK-47 assault rifle in the home. Now, as for the surrounding area, Kester Avenue and LeMay Street have reopened. Needless to say, the evacuation orders have also been lifted. That's the latest from the newsroom. And now let's go to Harry Abelson with health.
A technology takeover. Nearly half of smartphone owners say their phone is something they can't live without. A recent Pew Research Center report analyzes smartphone ownership and the attitude and behaviors that go along with it. The study found 64% of U.S. adults own a smartphone, up from 35% in 2011. Younger adults, as well as those who are more affluent and have higher levels of education, are among the most likely groups to own a smartphone. Of U.S. adults who own one, 7% are smartphone dependent, meaning they have limited options for going online other than their mobile device. The report also found that almost a quarter of smartphone owners canceled or suspended their cell phone service because the cost was too expensive. They say you are what you eat, but what are you eating? A multi-year analysis of U.S. grocery store purchases says highly processed foods make up nearly 2/3 of the calories in the foods that consumers buy. Researchers also found that on average, those processed foods are higher in fat, sugar, and salt than other purchasable foods. In the study, highly processed foods were defined as those containing multi-ingredient, industrially prepared mixtures such as soda, cookies, chips, candy, white bread, and prepared meals. Foods such as fresh or frozen fruits and vegetables, milk, eggs, and fresh meat were considered unprocessed or minimally processed. Frozen meals and ready-to-heat foods are considered one of the biggest causes of the calorie intake, making up more than 15% of the overall calories purchased at the grocery store. And now to business with Ashton Smith.
Auto sales have slowed down after months of steady growth. General Motors, Ford, Honda, and Nissan all ended March with lower sales. GM says its sales were down 3.4%, and the company's Cadillac brand reported being down 6.8%. Not everyone saw declines, though. Toyota says its sales were up 5% compared to last March, and Fiat Chrysler says its U.S. sales rose 2%. A senior market analyst for Kelley Blue Book says March is usually one of the strongest months of the year because buyers spend tax returns on cars, but sales still fell this month. And now back to Harry with the latest on sports.
Major League Baseball is less than a week away from opening day. Records are expected to be set before the season even starts. An Associated Press study says the average salary when opening day rosters are finalized on Sunday will break the $4 million benchmark for the first time. Dodgers pitcher Clayton Kershaw tops players at $31 million. Los Angeles projects to open the season with a payroll at about $270 million, easily a record. The projected salary average is $300,000 more than on the first day of last season. March might be over, but March Madness is just heating up. The men's Final Four will play this Saturday to determine who will compete in the championship game 2 days later. Earlier this week, Duke beat Gonzaga 66-52 in a pretty lopsided game. Michigan State beat Louisville in a close one, 76-70. Wisconsin and Kentucky also won in close games, and the two first-ranked teams will play each other on Saturday. Kentucky is trying to become the first team ever to finish a college basketball season with 40 wins and no losses. Connecticut, Maryland, Notre Dame, and South Carolina, all top-ranked teams, will compete in the women's Final Four round this upcoming weekend as well. And now back to Ashton Smith with the latest on entertainment.
Celebrations of chart-topping Tejano singer Selena Quintanilla's life will be taking place this week, 20 years after her murder, but not everyone is celebrating. Selena's father, Abraham Quintanilla Jr., says he has mixed feelings about the celebrations on the anniversary of her murder. Quintanilla says since his family is Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't celebrate deaths or birthdays, and he doesn't want people to think his family is behind the festivities. The celebrations will go on, however, with concerts, contests, and exhibitions taking place in a number of states across the country. The 7th installment of the Fast and Furious franchise will change into a higher gear by stepping up its stunts. With a production cost of $250 million, producer James Wan hopes that Furious 7 will take the audience on a heart-racing ride. The more noted stunts involve a vehicle skydive scene and a car chase through the Etihad Towers in Abu Dhabi. The movie is out on Friday and will feature the late Paul Walker, who died in an unrelated car accident in 2013. Comedy Central says it is still behind Trevor Noah despite the criticism he got from internet users for his tweets. The new host of The Daily Show came under fire after fans of the show searched Noah's Twitter and found offensive tweets about overweight women and Jews. Comedy Central defended the comedian, saying Noah pushes boundaries, is provocative, and spares no one. Network executives also said it's unfair to judge Noah on a handful of jokes. Comedy Central announced Monday the 31-year-old South African native would take over the show for Jon Stewart, who is stepping down later this year. That's all for entertainment news. I'm Ashton Smith.
I'm Harry Abelson.
I am Akopyan.
And I'm Jennifer Guzman. Thank you for watching Matador News.